What's going on, guys? So we have a lot of stuff going on out here at the property today. One of them was pretty traumatic and led me to, or inspired me to make this video, because I know there's a lot of folks out there who have kind of second guessed whether they want to get into RVing because of a lot of videos that have recently surfaced about different issues that you may experience. Now, if there's one thing I think I've done probably more than just about any other YouTuber out there, is I've tried to set the tone for what it's really going to be like if you're going to get into RVing. That you have to know how to work on your RV, that you have to know how to handle tools, and you have to not be afraid to experiment to try to fix things, because if you don't, you're just going to find yourself in a situation to where you're going to be miserable every time there's a mishap, every time something breaks, every time things aren't perfect. Now, I know that there's a lot of folks out there who might take that as another reason why they may not want to get into RVing, but what I can tell you is it's kind of life in general to experience problems and try to figure out how to overcome them. If you're not the type of person who does that in your everyday life, then you're probably not going to have a heck of a lot of fun RVing. So there's your answer to everything. Let me give you an example. So out here at the property this morning, I get up, I go let Buddy out, the dog. I go to the back door, open it up, and it's a screened-in area. And I see a big puddle of water pooling right along the outer edge of the screened-in area, basically the logs that make up the area beneath the screen itself. And I don't panic, because I think it's a couple of things that could potentially be happening. The first one is one that I can check very, very quickly, super convenient. Just walk out and see if the water hose spigot that is on the side of the house is leaking, because I've had problems with it just dripping. So I've put a little shutoff valve on it, but sometimes somebody waters plants or does something, gives water to the cats, and they leave that valve open. Pardon the wind, it is super, super windy out here. And I went up to the valve just to check to see if it was on or leaking or dripping, and it wasn't. It was bone dry. But directly beneath it, there's this plastic fitting that shoots out from the side of the wall that had water trickling from it. Again, I wasn't really panicking. What my gut told me was that, well, the air conditioners are in the attic of this home, and one of the air conditioners may be having a condensation issue, and it may have filled up the pan, possibly. Now, that is not one of those things that you should take lightly. If your pan is filling up to the point to where your emergency overflow is collecting water and dripping out, you should absolutely fix that problem, and there's a lot of things that could potentially be happening. But it's one of those things that, to me, isn't a super big emergency. Turn off the air conditioning unit, go up in the attic, check the drain pan, see what's going on. And that was what I was planning on doing. I walk back into the house, I go past the thermostat, flip it off, and just decide to check in the attic. That's the next step, see if the drain pan is full. So I pull the attic steps down, climb into the attic, and halfway up, I start hearing this sound that sounds a lot like spraying water. Now that's where the panic kicks in. That's where the anxiety starts to hit you a little bit, because you got to figure out, first of all, where it's coming from and how bad it is. So I get up there, I pan over to the right where we have two water heaters. We didn't put them in there. The cabin was designed this way. There's two water heaters side by side, and they're covered in water droplets all along the side, and the drain pans on both of them are completely full and running through the emergency drain valve that's on them. Now that is something worth panicking about, because there's an active water issue going on, right? Water is coming out. That's not where you want it to be coming out, and it's getting everything around the water heaters, including the water heaters and the drain pan, wet. So the first thing I decided to do was run outside, kill water to the home, and figure out what's going on. So I run outside, kill water, go inside the house, turn on the spigot so I can relieve the pressure, because you're still going to have some pressure in your lines. I want to get that water stopping. I don't want water to continuously flow. And I get up there, and I notice that on one of the water heaters, the flexible stainless steel braided hose is leaking right at the fitting where it connects to the top of the water heater. It's spraying water out. And at that point, I'm like, Okay, so that seems like it's a pretty easy fix. Just replace that hose. Then I look at the drain pan of the water heater that's next to the water heater that's having that issue, and oddly enough, again, the drain pan is full. So I'm presuming that water from the leak, or water from the hose where it's leaking, sprayed over and filled up the other drain pan as well. And I have no idea how long this could have been taking place up there. My gut tells me at least 12 to 24 hours, somewhere in that range. Because when I first started noticing water appear on the back patio, that's just an indication that water had been filling up the drain pans for a while, because the little relief hose that comes off, or the emergency drain off of the pan, isn't at the very bottom of the pan. It's probably a good ½ inch above the bottom of the pan. So the pan had to have been filling with water for a while before it actually reached that tube to be able to go out the PVC and exit the home. So I'm assuming 12, 24 hours, which could be a lot of water. I'm imagining gallons of water, because it's fairly well saturated in the attic. It seems as if there's wet spots, there's dry spots, but no flooding, and there's no water that's appeared in the sheetrock or the drywall above me, in the ceiling area below the water heaters, if that makes sense. So next thing I need to do is I turned the power off to both water heaters. I found a shutoff valve where I could turn off the water incoming side to the water heater, so that was really good. I shut that off so I could turn the water onto the rest of the house again. And I went to removing the hose. Well, everything up there seemed to be in really good shape overall, except that hose. Again, it was a braided stainless steel hose. I went ahead and removed it and ran down to Lowe's, picked up a new one. It's one of those more rigid style, flexible hoses that you're probably familiar with, stainless steel hoses. I replaced it with that because it was bent at a bit of an angle that was probably putting some pressure on the end coupler. But fixed it up, turned it back on, leak is done, brought my shop back up, vacuumed the water out of the drain pans, and turned the water back on, and everything works perfectly. So why am I telling you this story? I think some people probably know why I'm telling you this story. If you own a home and something happens to your plumbing, to your electrical, to something at your home, you need to get it fixed. And if you know how to do it yourself, it's not so much that you save money, which you do, of course, but you save disasters from getting worse and worse and worse and worse. If I wasn't home, my wife certainly would have not gone up there to try to figure out what was going on. She would have called a plumber. A plumber would have, actually today, which happens to be a weekend, there were very, very few plumbers who were actually open, and the ones that were open wanted to schedule me for tomorrow or even Monday to try to get this fixed. Now imagine the amount of water that could have collected in the attic and how much damage it could have caused if I wasn't home to get up there, explore what was wrong, and fix it quickly. Again, we talk about the financial aspect of doing things yourself. That's great. Understanding how much money you can save by fixing a project quickly. And that, of course, plays into this. But more importantly, what plays into this is the fact that the problem got fixed before the damage became extreme. Before we started seeing water drip from the ceiling. Before water damaged everything, and now we have to call like a remediation company to come in there and fix things. Before it got to the point to where it became more than a $30 repair. That's probably the best way of saying it. Cost me $30 in parts. I had the tools. I got up there, removed the old hose, put the new hose on, got everything working, checked it for leaks. Everything is perfect now. We are back in business. But that could have easily turned into a $10,000 or $20,000 or more repair if I hadn't caught it and hadn't decided to fix it myself, or didn't go in depth into trying to actually explore what could actually be happening, what's causing the problem, and what do I need to do to prevent further damage from occurring. That is the mentality you have to have when owning an RV. So if you ask me, should you get an RV? Should you enjoy the RV lifestyle, knowing that there could be some disasters, knowing that there could be trials, tribulations, that there could be things that will stress you out, that will make you have to do things, fix things, explore things, investigate things in a way you've never done before, have to maintain things in a way that you may have never had to do before. Yes, that is gonna happen, but yes, you should get into RVing. What you get out of enjoying RV life is significantly better, in my opinion, than the trials and tribulations that you learn along the way. And the good thing is they are lessons. Once you learn something, you retain that, and you use that the next time you have a problem that you need to fix and attack. And this is just one of those examples of anything you own that you have to maintain, that takes maintenance, that takes patience, that takes understanding, that takes diagnosis. You're probably gonna have to get your hands dirty at one point. You're probably gonna understand that if you don't try to fix a problem before it becomes a major problem, it's gonna cost you a lot of money in the future, and it's gonna disrupt your entire perception of what you think that lifestyle should be. A lot of people think getting an RV is all about just enjoying the RV lifestyle, having the best time possible, friends, families, memories, barbecuing, going to cool places, getting close to those cool places so you're not driving from a hotel. That's what people want the RV lifestyle to be, and it is that. But you also have to understand that it's a lot more than that. It's fixing things. It's maintaining things. It's learning how to do things. It's understanding processes. It's understanding how to organize yourself, how to cram, the things you need into a relatively small space without overloading that space, how to connect things and disconnect things, and how to do minor repairs or even major repairs that can save you a lot of money and a lot of headache, and can save you from possibly having a horrible experience simply because you didn't try to fix it yourself. You waited. And that's the thing. We could have hired a plumber to come out here and fix that problem. I could have simply said, I see water leaking, I'm going to call a plumber, and I'm going to wait until a plumber can come out here tomorrow. Imagine how much damage would have happened if I allowed that to happen. And that's in a home. You can experience the same things, you can experience worse problems, but oftentimes you're going to experience much, much more minor problems in your RV, but you do have to catch them before they turn into major problems. That's the key. Anyways, the answer to the question, should you get into RVing even if you understand that you could have problems along the way? You should. I feel so. I feel like it's a great lifestyle, but you do have to understand what you're getting into, and you have to be willing to explore, get your hands dirty, understand how to use tools, understand how to maintain the tools you use, understand how those tools can most effectively be used to do repairs that you should be able to do yourself if you take the time and do the research and try to understand that when you catch problems early, you avoid them turning into huge problems. Anyways, guys, sure hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully the microphone didn't get saturated with all of this wind that is constantly blowing. We have like 30-mile-an-hour winds today, and probably a bad time to come out here without any type of external microphone to try to record. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.